I never thought I'd see my disability checks. The money that kept a roof over my wife's head and food in my dog's bowl shoved straight into the trash by the president of my own HOA. That day, she didn't just throw away my mail. She lit a fire inside me that would end with cops swarming our clubhouse, neighbors screaming, and her being dragged out in handcuffs. And the truth, she never saw it coming. Act 1. The first shots. When Mary and I moved into Willow Creek, I thought we'd finally found peace. I'd done my years overseas, 2 tours, a limp in my leg, and a head full of noise that never really shuts off. All I wanted was quiet. A house where my old shepherd Max could sniff the grass, where Mary could plant roses, and where I could breathe without looking over my shoulder. But quiet doesn't last long when there's a Karen in charge. I met her the very first week. She pulled up in her little golf cart, beige polo tucked so tight it looked like she was suffocating herself, haircut so sharp you could measure lumber with it. "Excuse me," she said, voice dripping with fake politeness. "I'm Karen Blake, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association." President. She said it like she had been crowned. Her hawk eyes landed on my brand new flagpole, the American flag waving in my yard. She whipped out a measuring tape like she was Judge Judy, 2 inches taller than regulation, and today isn't a federal holiday. That flag is in violation. I stared at her. After everything I'd lived through, the nights under gunfire, the blood, the funerals, this woman was lecturing me about a flag. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought my teeth might crack. "Ma'am," I said, calm as ice. "That flag isn't decoration. I served under it. It stays. Not yesterday, not today, not ever." Her face went blotchy red. She hissed, "You'll be hearing from our lawyer," and peeled off in that pathetic golf cart like it was a Ferrari. That was my welcome to Willow Creek, and it only got worse. The letters started piling up. Grass half an inch too tall. Wrong color. Welcome, Matt. My dog barking in my own fenced yard. Each letter came perfumed with Karen's self-righteousness. Mary began dreading the mailbox. "This isn't the life we wanted, Jack," she whispered one night, and I saw the worry in her eyes. She deserved peace, and I'd promised it to her. But the final straw wasn't a letter. It was Max. At 14, his legs are shot. Watching him struggle up our porch steps felt like a knife in my gut. So I built him a ramp. Sturdy, simple, safe. For the first time in weeks, Max wagged his tail. For 2 days, I felt like we were healing. Then Karen showed up again with some concrete-jawed goon at her side. "Unapproved structure," she sneered. "Remove it immediately, or we'll remove it for you." I wanted to explode, but I swallowed it. Losing my temper was what she wanted. Instead, I said calmly, "This ramp is for my disabled service animal, under the ADA, that makes it protected." She smirked. "A dog is not a person. The ramp goes," and off she rode, smug as a tyrant. I stood on my lawn, shaking with rage. She wasn't just coming for me. She was targeting a dying dog, just to prove she could. That was the moment I stopped being a neighbor and started being a soldier again. Act 2. The war behind the fences. I treated Karen like an enemy combatant. Up before dawn, binoculars by the window, logging her every move when her landscapers arrived. When she made her rounds, my neighbor Derek, bless him, became an unintentional informant. He loved to gossip. I learned about birthday parties fined for bouncy castles, houses repainted because the beige was 2% off. Karen wasn't just strict, she was a predator. But surveillance wasn't enough. I needed intel, real evidence. At a monthly HOA meeting, I saw my shot. While Derek staged a clumsy accident with a cup of punch, spilling it all over Karen's enforcer, I slipped the treasurer's box of financial reports into Mary's tote bag and walked out like I owned the place. That night, papers spread across my dining table. My blood ran cold. Evergreen Landscaping Solutions, $5,000 a month. A shell company owned by one Kate Blake. Karen wasn't just power drunk, she was stealing from all of us. Still, a thought nagged at me. Even if I had proof of fraud, she controlled the narrative. If I went public too soon, she'd bury me in lawsuits, make our lives unlivable. And for a moment, I doubted myself. I looked at Mary, at Max dozing on his ramp. What if I made things worse? What if fighting back cost us the very peace I'd promised her? Maybe it'd be easier to pack up, walk away. Let someone else deal with the HOA queen. But then Max let out a soft whine, struggling to stand. And I knew, you don't walk away when your family's under fire. You fight smarter. So I set the trap. I dismantled Max's ramp in broad daylight, let Karen see it. Let her think she'd won. Then I planted bait. The tackiest pink flamingo and a 3-foot gnome riding a unicorn. Violations on purpose. Cameras hidden in the trees. Lenses trained on my lawn and my mailbox. At 3:17 a.m. My phone buzzed. Motion detected. I pulled up the feed. And there he was, Frank, hauling off my gnome and flamingo like a burglar. Then, as I suspected, he opened my mailbox. He rifled through every envelope, then stole the entire stack. Mail theft. A federal crime. I nearly laughed as I saved the footage in triplicate. But the twist came when I zoomed in on the van's driver. Not Karen. Not Frank. It was Arthur the meek, bumbling treasurer, the guy who could barely read his reports out loud. Suddenly, it clicked. Arthur wasn't a victim. He was the brains. Payments funneled to his wife's web company. Fake expenses hidden for years. Karen was the attack dog, but Arthur was the accountant, making it possible. They were partners. Now the mission changed. It wasn't enough to expose Karen. If I didn't nail Arthur too, he'd slither out, play the victim, dump it all on her. That meant one thing. I had to break into his house. It was insane, wrong, the kind of thing that could get me arrested. For a night, I wrestled with myself. I wasn't in combat anymore. I wasn't supposed to be picking locks in suburbia. But then I remembered the neighbors. The Millers, the Garcias, all the families Karen and Arthur had crushed. Someone had to stand up. So I did. Tuesday night, while Arthur and his wife went to bingo, Derek stood watch with a walkie-talkie. I slipped into the shadows, picked the back door lock, and slid inside. His office was spotless, computer humming. I plugged in my drive, praying for data. Then Derek's voice in my ear. Red light. Jack, they're back. Get out now. My chest froze. I yanked the drive, dove out a side window just as Arthur's key turned in the front door. Crawling through the wet grass, heart pounding, I thought the mission had failed. But when I checked the drive at home, one file had copied a video. Arthur's office. 6 months earlier. Karen and Arthur, talking in low voices. The fines aren't enough, she hissed. We need more homes forced onto the market. The developer wants 10 by spring. Developer. My blood turned cold. This wasn't just greed, it was a conspiracy. They were deliberately driving families out, so some old philanthropist could buy the neighborhood back cheap. That was the kill shot. Act 3. The Day of Reckoning. The final HOA meeting of the year was supposed to be cheerful cookies, eggnog, tinsel. Karen beamed at the microphone. Arthur, shuffling pamphlets, playing the harmless treasurer. The sight of them made me sick. When she asked for new business, I stood up. Actually, Karen, I said, setting my laptop on the table, I have a presentation. Derek killed the lights. The projector flared to life. First image. Frank, caught red-handed at 3. Gnome in one hand, flamingo in the other. The room gasped. Next clip. Frank rifling through my mailbox, pocketing every envelope. Karen shrieked. This is doctored footage. Lies. I ignored her. Tampering with you. Mail is a federal offense, I said evenly. The room went dead silent. Then I dropped the financials, evergreen landscaping, the fake web company, the trail of stolen money. Murmurs swelled into shouts. Finally, I played the video. Arthur and Karen, plotting to crush their own neighbor. And the name of the developer, the man whose name was on our community park, the so-called benefactor of Willow Creek. When the lights came back on, it was chaos. Neighbors yelling, phones out, calling police. Karen tried to scream over them, but her voice was drowned in the roar of people she'd tormented. Arthur made a break for the side door, but the man whose kid lost his basketball hoop blocked his path. Frank lunged at me, but 20 years of muscle memory took over. I flipped his wrist, pinned him to the floor without breaking a sweat. Stay down, I muttered, and he did. And then the sirens came, blue and red flashing through the clubhouse windows. Officers pouring in, cuffs snapping shut on Karen's wrists. Arthur dragged out white as a sheet. The so-called Queen of Willow Creek was nothing but a criminal caught in her own web. Closing. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt something rarer peace, real peace, the kind you only earn after standing your ground. Looking back, I realized Karen thought she was running a neighborhood, but what she was really running was a war. And in war, you learn one thing: bullies win until somebody pushes back harder. That night, I pushed back, and I took my home, our peace, back for good. Sometimes, you have to get loud to make things quiet again. And that's the story I'll leave you with, right here on Everyday Karen Tales.